Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts, and in today's video we're going to be making this roll up gift box cube. I've added a separate lid, as you can see, to keep the boxes together, and as the cube rolls out, each side has got a treat or a gift box on it, each open at either the top or the front of the box. I will give you the measurements for the boxes that I've made, which fit in a 4x4 inch cube. Clearly you can make your cube and your boxes any size to suit your needs. And at the end of the video, I will quickly run through how I would calculate the size of boxes I need for a different size cube. So without further ado, let me show you how I put this project together. Each box is going to be 4 inches in depth, and the first box is 1 inch wide and 3 inches high. I'm starting with a piece of cardstock which is 8.5 by 6. Along the 8.5 inch size, score at half, 1.5, 4.5, and 5.5. And along the short side, score at 1 and 5. Keep the piece in the scoreboard with the 1/2 inch tab at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch down to the second score line. So this is the score line at 1.5 inches, and do the same at 5.5 inches. Rotate the piece 180 degrees, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch down to the horizontal at 4 inches, and repeat at 5.5 inches. So we'll have one section in the middle here which has got no additional score lines in the outside tabs. Fold and burnish along all of the score lines. I'm going to add a simple finger notch into the panel which is opposite the 1/2 inch flap. With the 1/2 inch tab on the right hand side, I'm going to work from right to left, cut up the first score line through the additional score line up to the horizontal like so. Move along to the next vertical and cut up to the full horizontal, and we're going to do that on each of the vertical score lines. So we're going to cut up to the main horizontal score line, so we'll end up with 5 sections. Rotate with the 1/2 inch tab in front of us. I'm going to remove that bottom rectangle. So we've now got this tab. I'm going to flip this larger section out of the way and cut up the additional score line to remove that excess. So this is the inside flap for the lid. Keep this one tucked out of the way. I'm going to cut up and along the additional score line to remove that excess, and repeat on this last section of the box. So these are our glue tabs for the sides. We can work on the other side and repeat the process. So this is our box base, and with the back 2 sections on the right here, I'm going to cut a wedge from each of the tabs to create the glue tabs. And you can at this stage cut a small wedge from the front of this tab at the end where the side flaps are going to sit into the lid. And I'm going to round off the corners of the front flap for the lid. We're going to add glue to these 2 tabs here, these 2 tabs here. These will fold in, and this section will come across, and that will form our box. I'm going to add glue to the tabs and construct the box base. Make sure you get nice right angles on the sides of the box. So that's box number 1. For box number 2, which will be 4 inches wide by 1 inch high, I've got a piece which is 10.5 by 6 inches. Along the 10.5 side, score at half, 4.5, 5.5, and 9.5. Rotate, and along the short side, score at 1 and 5. Rotate so that the 1/2 inch tab is at the top and score at 1/2 inch down to the second score line, so the 4.5 inch score line. Repeat that at 5.5 inches. So this is creating the side flaps for the inside of the box. Fold and burnish. I'm going to add a notch into the 1 inch section opposite the 1/2 inch tab. With the 1/2 inch tab on the right hand side, cut up each of the vertical score lines to the full horizontal. So we're going to construct the box in the same way as we did with the first box. Rotate, remove that bottom rectangle section, and then cut up the additional score line to create the side flaps for the lid, like so. Take a wedge from the sides of the two smaller glue tabs and repeat on the other side of the box. So we'll add glue to these two tabs here and the tops of these two tabs here, and then these pieces will come round to form the box base, and then the lid will come down and sit inside like so. I'm going to take a wedge from the front of the sides flaps for the lid and then round off the corners of the front flap. So that's box number 2. For the third box is going to be 4 inches by 1 inch by 1 inch. You'll need a piece which is 3 inches by 10.5 inches. Along the 10.5 inch side, score at half, 1.5, 5.5, and 6.5. And along the 3 inch side, score at 1 and 2. With the 1/2 inch tab at the top, score at 1/2 inch down to the 1.5 inch score line. Repeat at 2.5 inches. Rotate the piece 180 degrees and score at 1/2 inch down to the second score line at 5 inches and repeat at 2.5 inches. So our piece looks like so. Fold and burnish along all of the score lines. With the 1/2 inch tab on the right hand side, we're going to follow the same process for each of the other boxes. Cut up each of the verticals to the full horizontal. Rotate. Remove the bottom left hand rectangle. Cut up the additional score line. Fold this piece in, cut up the additional score line to form the inside flap for the lid, and cut up the remaining additional score lines. Cut a wedge from the two glue tabs at the end. Cut a wedge from the front of the side flap for the lid, and repeat on the other side of the piece. I'm going to round off the corners of the front flap, add a small notch into the end opposite the flap, We'll add glue to the glue tabs here and here, and these will come up and form our box. That's box number 3. For the final box, which is going to be 4 by 4 by 2, I have one piece which is 8 by 8. This is for the box base. And the second piece will be for the lid, which will be 5 by 5. Along each 8-inch side, we're going to score at 2 inches. And for the lid piece, score on all 4 sides at ½ inch. Take the box base, fold and burnish. We're going to make a simple tray, so I'm going to cut up the vertical to the horizontal, repeat on the right hand side score line, cut a wedge from the sides of these outer glue tabs, rotate the piece and repeat on the other end. Add glue to the corner glue tabs, pull up the side to make the box base. Try to get nice right angles. I'm going to add a notch to the end of this, and whilst that's drying I'm going to make the lid, fold and burnish along each of the score lines, cut up the vertical to the full horizontal. We're going to remove the left and right hand squares on one end and cut a wedge from the end of the glue tab, and this is going to create the hinge to sit inside the lid. And on the opposite end we're going to again remove the corners like so and take a wedge from the front of these. I'm going to round off the corners of the front flap, add glue to the hinge and sit the hinge in the opposite end of the box to the finger notch if you've added one, and that is our box number 4. So this is how our boxes are going to sit together. So this is the top view and this is the front view, and what I would recommend is that you now add your DSP and then you make the sides of the cube. We're going to need to account for layers of DSP. So I'm now going to add DSP onto the relevant sides of the individual boxes, and then I will measure the width that I need to create the cube. I don't need to add DSP to all of the sides of the box, so I'm going to consider how these boxes are going to sit on the base. The cube side is going to go along the bottom, along the right hand side, along the left hand side and along the top. So on the yellow box, this left hand side will be the base, so this will be glued to the side of the cube. So I can write base on there. I don't need to add any DSP to that one. For this right hand side box, the green one, this is going to be the base, so I don't need to add DSP to that side. This is going to be the top of the box, so this box will come around and sit like so. And that box will stay in that orientation and open from the front like so. So that will be the base. So I'm going to cover all of the sides except the ones which are currently sitting flat on the desk. I've added my chosen DSP, and when I now take the measurement of the width, it's just a smidge over 4 inches. Now I've chosen to create each of the sides of the cube the same colour as the sides of the box. And what that's led me to do is to change around the blue and the red boxes. So I'm now going to have the red box at the bottom and the blue box at the top. And the reason I've done this is because of the way the blue box opens, and because when I want my coloured pieces to create the strip, I didn't want tabs of one colour running into tabs of another colour where there wasn't a complete box. Hopefully as I glue this together it will make more sense. The blue side where the box is going to effectively sit in the middle, this piece of cardstock is 4 1/16 by 4.5 plus a 16th, and I'm going to score at 1/2 inch. And that is then going to sit into the yellow panel, and the yellow box is going to fill the whole of the panel. So my tab from my blue is going to go into the yellow, which will then be covered by the box. So my yellow piece is going to be 4 1/16 by 4 1/16. My red box, which again doesn't fill the whole of the panel, I've cut a piece which is 4 1/16 by 5 1/16, and on the 5 1/16 side I'm going to score at 1/2 inch, rotate and score at 1/2 inch, and that means that the glue tab is going to sit into the yellow square, which will be completely covered by the yellow box. And on the right hand side, the glue tab is going to go into the green square, which is going to be covered completely by the green box. And this piece is 4 1/16 by 4 1/16. If you choose to have your cube sides all the same colour, you won't have the same issue. This is merely because I've decided to change up the colours. But I would suggest you measure the width of your box before you cut any of the side pieces for your cube. So I'm going to go ahead with the scoring as I've indicated. So this is my strip. I'm going to start by adding in the yellow box and the green box. So add construction glue to the base. I'm going to pull up the blue side and pull up the red side, and then I can make sure that the yellow box is sitting properly within the side sections, and make sure the front and the back also line up. Once I'm happy that's in place, I'm going to flip that over and just burnish down from the bottom. I'm going to take the green box, apply glue and sit that in place, and pull up the red side to make sure that's all adhered. Make sure it's sitting squarely at the front and the back. Flip that over and burnish from the base. I'm now going to take the red box, I'm going to pull up the green and pull up the yellow. Add glue to the base of the red box and sit that in between, using the yellow and the green box as a guide. Make sure they line up at the front and the back. So use the boxes which are adhered to help you place the remaining boxes. Once I'm happy, I'm just going to go in and push that down a little bit more. So there's my 3 boxes, and for the final box, which is going to sit on top like so, to make sure all of the boxes fit together, I'm going to add my glue to the base, flip up the green box, flip up the yellow box, and flip the blue panel over the top. Make sure all the boxes are aligned at the front and the back. Make sure your boxes are all flush and square. You can see I could have cut that blue piece slightly longer, but there's going to be a lid on the top, so I'm not too concerned. But this is how the front face of the box is going to look. Once that's all in place, I'm just going to burnish that one down, and then I'm going to sit that aside to dry. For the final element, I'm going to make a separate lid, which is going to sit on top here, and the sides will come down over the top, and that's going to keep everything close together. So for the lid, I have a piece which is 6 1/8 by 6 1/8, and that's just going to give me the leeway I need to fit the box over the top. I'm going to score on all 4 sides at 1 inch. Fold and burnish, And we're going to basically be making an upside down tray. So I'm going to cut up the verticals to the horizontal on each corner. Repeat on the other side. Cut a wedge from these corner tabs. Rotate the piece and repeat on the other end. Add glue to each of the corner glue tabs and pull up to create the lid of the box. So the lid fits snugly on the top like so, but I would say measure, measure, measure before you cut anything. I'm going to go ahead and decorate the lid, and then that will be the project completed. So you can see I've now added the DSP onto the top of the lid. The boxes all fold down like so. And then we have our 4 gift boxes, treat boxes. You could of course choose to add additional paper here, but I didn't feel it was necessary. And the boxes each fold up and fit together nicely, and that's the front profile of the box. So there we have today's finished project. If you do want to resize the cube, what I would do is this, for instance, is a piece of 6 by 6, and you want to work on how your boxes look on the front face. So if you imagine this is this surface here, I would literally just take your ruler and work out the size of your boxes. If you work on the basis, it's going to be side number 1, which in our case is the blue, side 2 is the yellow, side 3 is the red, and side 4 is the green. So I would literally just plan out the sizes of your boxes to suit. So you might want a box which is 2 inches high. So this is the equivalent of our yellow box. You may want your red box to be 3 inches high and to run in the remaining 4 inches. So that might fit in there. So that's the equivalent of our red box. And then you've got the remaining top right hand corner to split into your green and your blue box sizes. So hopefully this just gives you an indication as to how you can calculate the size of boxes that you can fit into the size of cube that you wish to make. I hope you've enjoyed today's project. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.